Black Bag is a spy thriller directed by Steven Soderbergh and written by David Koepp. The film stars Cate Blanchett, Michael Fassbender, Marissa Abela, Tom Burke, Naomi Harris, Regé-Jean Page, and Pierce Brosnan. It takes a spy to hunt a spy. When his beloved wife is suspected of betraying the nation, an intelligence agent faces the ultimate test: loyalty to his marriage or his country. This review will be spoiler-free. Steven Soderbergh is a very versatile director. I really liked his 2024 film Presence, which was also written by David Koepp, who has written some of my favourite films of all time in Spider-Man, Jurassic Park, and War of the Worlds. I am a big fan of spy thrillers, and with a stacked cast such as this, I had to check this one out. I loved the mood of this film. Soderbergh establishes a great atmosphere. I enjoyed living in this world for 94 minutes. That is another thing that Soderbergh does well. He never has bloated runtimes. His films are tight and concise. I particularly loved the production design in Catherine and George's home. These are the two leads, played by Blanchett and Fassbender respectively. The house is always dark, and the film is full of nighttime scenes, but the lighting had this gorgeous dreamy bronze look to it that was easy on the eyes. The film looked and felt like an old 60s or 70s spy film. There is no action. This is all plot and character conversations. I really liked the first act in particular, as for a dialogue-heavy film, it used its visuals to set up its characters in very detail-oriented ways. For example, we see George cooking early in the film. We see how meticulous he is when cutting food, as well as how precise he is about how he presents himself. He gets the tiniest splash of sauce on the cuff of his shirt and proceeds to go and change it. All of the characters in this film are professional deceivers, so it's interesting to watch them and figure out what their real motives are when they're so good at pretending. George is cooking in preparation for his co-workers to arrive as dinner guests at his and Catherine's home. Before they arrive, we see the guests at a restaurant having drinks. Clarissa, Freddie, Zoe, and James, played by Marissa Abela, Tom Burke, Naomi Harris, and Regé-Jean Page, respectively. As they get up to leave, we can see that Zoe is the only one who doesn't quickly finish her drink, leaving most of her wine untouched. As a psychiatrist, she is a more measured and weary character than the rest. The dinner scene that follows is potentially my favourite in the film. It was funny and foreboding with great character interactions. The acting was strong, with a lot of characters holding back tears when humiliated. It is a shame that the best sort of game-oriented scenes like this one are so early on in the film, as while it certainly does pick up in its third act with some similar scenes, it never reaches the intrigue of the first act. The second act was often wordy in a way that felt a little convoluted. The writing and directing is certainly confident, but a lot of the exposition is delivered in a bland and unentertaining way that it can be easy to miss little details that are unfortunately very important. Pierce Brosnan's character was also a little underwhelming as a presence. The best characters, aside from Catherine and George, were Clarissa and Zoe. I thought that Marissa Abela did an admirable job in Back to Black, despite my general dislike of that film, but here, as Clarissa, she is fantastic, easily one of the more interesting and entertaining elements of the film. There is a great scene of her and Fassbender secretly surveying Blanchett. I was hoping that the film would have a few more of those tense moments. Fassbender does a great job at playing this character who is similar to the one he played in David Fincher's The Killer from 2023. It is really the performances and the overall style that carries this film. It has a sultry and mysterious vibe that is easy to get swept up in, but it doesn't have the tension and intensity that it needs to truly be memorable or riveting. Cate Blanchett is the star as a curious character that you never feel like you get under the skin of. I wish we did, however, this is part of her allure, and part of the general premise of all of these characters being professional deceivers. Cate Blanchett is the most interesting character in the film to me, and probably the strongest performance as well, unsurprisingly. If you're a fan of Soderbergh and these actors, or you just like spy thrillers, I would recommend this. It isn't going to stick with you really, but it is a good time at the movies. I'm always happy to support original films like this one, and this is a genre that I would like to see more of on the big screen in the future. I do think that when it comes to the expository dialogue and a lot of the details of the plot, that maybe this is the kind of thing that actually would have worked better as a TV series. With a budget of $50 million, I hope it does okay at the box office, because it is a solid film. I have to admit though, Black Bag is a terrible title for a film, and I don't expect general audiences to be attracted to it. So the marketing itself maybe hasn't really done enough of the heavy lifting in terms of getting butts in seats. I did get a bit bored in the middle due to the convoluted expository dialogue, and the film never truly delivers on the intrigue that it sets up in its first act, but I found the tasteful old school directing style that Soderbergh implores for this film to be very enticing. The characters are pretty great as well. I will certainly check out what he does next. As with this and Presence, I'm really enjoying what he has been doing of late, especially when working with David Koepp. While I didn't love this film, it has me excited for what 2025 has in store. January, February, and March are usually pretty dull months, even depressing months for movie fans, but we have had solid film after solid film for these first few months. Coming out of the pandemic, and then having the acting and writing strikes, the industry has been neutered in many ways. 2024 was honestly a bit of a dry year. There were some great films, but overall I wasn't that impressed. But this year looks to be stacked. It looks like we can finally look forward to a prosperous industry.